Welcome to the Brown Spade Show. Today we have a special guest. And let me say that I am honored because I believe that it is a true redemption story. This is one of the founding members, Mr. Melvin Farmer, one of the founding members of the Crips. But before we get started, what's going on? What's going on, Brother Farmer?
Hey, how you doing? And thank everybody for tuning in. And thank you for having me as a guest. It's an honor and a privilege.
Yes, sir. Likewise, likewise. So, I've been seeing you around on the online a few times, and I thought your story was interesting. So I always like to extract the good and not the bad. I always try to keep our show positive over here.
Yes, sir.
So, okay, so let's start off with explain to our members and our guests and fans out there, who is Melvin Farmer?
Melvin Farmer is 64 years old now. I grew up on the west side, Los Angeles. I used to be one of the number one ranked basketball players in the inner city at 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. But somewhere along the line, I ended up being around with Tookie, the Raymond Washingtons. I ended up joining the Crips at age 14, the West Side Crips. That was in 1971. And from there, I went on a journey where I went through the juvenile justice system, had over 30-something arrests by the time of 17. And by the end, at this present moment, I had served over 30-some years. I turned my life around. I'm an author. I do civil rights. I've done a lot of cases that have been high profile when it comes to senseless gun violence, whether it be by friend, family, or foe, or even those that are here to serve and protect us. I'm a certified credible messenger. That's with the mayor out of Washington, D.C. I work with the mayors across the nation. I work with LA City Council. And it's a story where I'm just trying to give back to the community and others that it's a better way in life than to go down the path that so many of us choose to go down when we're making these decisions in life that will adversely affect you later on in life. So I try to give back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, so where are you originally from?
I'm from Los Angeles, California, born and raised.
Okay. So most people, most blacks in particular, they migrated from the South. Some went north, some went out west. Are your people from the South?
Everybody, that's my mother age. She's 80 now. They mostly migrated from the South. My mama's from Mississippi, Coldwater. My daddy's from Memphis. In fact, one of my sisters is born in Memphis. Then we came back. I was born in LA, one was born in Memphis, and then my other sister, younger one, was born back in LA. So you're absolutely correct. We migrated. My family name came from down south.
So was that a culture shock when you moved to LA? No, you was born in LA. So how was it growing up in LA when you was growing up as an adolescent?
Well, at that time, most of the people were on the east side of Los Angeles. They hadn't migrated over to the other side, West Los Angeles, at that time. So when I was growing up along the east side, Hoover corridors, I seen a lot of gang activity, but not like it is now. They had the Slausons, the businessmans, Manchester Park boys, and so forth. But they were more of a like a gang where you see gangs of New York where they running around with bats. Very few gunplay.
Right.
Also, once I moved off the east side in '69, I moved on the west side, which was just starting to integrate. They just had built Crenshaw High, and you could still be at St. Andrews Park to where Tookie and them would be at one end when they 16 or 17. And at the other ends, you had white. The vast difference on the west side, as opposed to the east side, we had a giant slide, go karts, miniature golf, theaters, all the amenities that a white community would have. In
Mm.
fact, they started busing us to integrate that side. So it was a shock to where I seen where they had so many things to offer on this side, but I was young. I didn't know what it was. I just thought it was normal. But in hindsight, uh, they had everything. And when we was on the east side, they didn't have these things, the go karts. But the east side was the maker for all the black entertainers up and down Central Boulevard, the Charlie Birds, uh, 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 the Dorothy Dandridge, those in that eras, the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And starting at the end of the 60s, going into the 70s, I moved to the west side and we helped integrate that community.
Okay. So when you're saying integrate, are you referring to black and whites? Or you're
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
okay.
When I
So
moved over, go ahead.
no, I was saying so when you guys integrated in that community, did you experience any kind of racism?
Well, I experienced racism in the eighth grade. Uh, a teacher said I assaulted her. She was white, trying to push up on me, and
Mm.
they kicked me out of school. Then I went to a white school called Orville Wright. That's where Ike and Tina Turner's son went. Ray Charles' son, them. That's where they go to from where they were staying at that time. Lou Rawls, Mark Copage, that played in Julia, Room 222. Eric Laudermill played in White Shadows. All these guys were staying there and going to school with me, staying in Ladera Heights. And so one day I've experienced racism to where my first day of school, they were lagging. All the whites were lagging, throwing quarters up against the handball court, lagging. And one white guy came and took all of them quarters. And they
Mm.
went and told the principal I took it, but I didn't do nothing. And they kicked me out of school that first day of school. That was
Wow.
racism also. Uh-huh.
Wow.
So those are some of the things. I've been framed by law enforcement. In fact, uh, my first time experienced police brutality, I was probably 15, walking through an alley, and a police 77 pulled up, and they had a habit of putting your hands on the hood because it was hot. So
Hmm.
I'm in the alley. This back before they had cement. The alley was dirt and grass during that time. And so they tossed me up a little bit, but then they say, run, nigga.
Mm.
And I dropped right to my knees to where my knees would have dug in. And I told them, if you kill me, they're going to know I was on my knees. And they kicked me in my back and told me to get your ass on, nigga. Now, that happened at about 15 or 16, probably about 15.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was my next question. You already answered it about the police brutality there.
Oh, I've suffered they had police that at that time had a police named Lucci
Mm.
out of Lenox, sheriff. He would fight all the Crips, Tookie, Monk, Belvin Hardy, any of the Crips up in there. He would actually, they had a crew that would put their gloves on, block off the alleys, and fight you. So a lot of that, because most of the force was white that
Right.
was patrolling that community were white.
So for
Hmm.
those of you who don't know, he's referring to Tukey Williams,
Yeah. Mhm.
right? One of the great Crips who turned his life around in prison and never got a chance to get his freedom back.
Yes. But let me
So
say this one thing about Tookie that's a misrepresentation. Tookie, me, and other guys, they wasn't like telling nobody what to do or leading them. I never seen Tookie with a gun. And I've been knowing him since I was 14 to the day. Even before that, I met him in the 8th grade. So a lot of times you'll see what they doing now and think that's how it was then. And it's totally, totally not true. When
Mm,
we were coming up, it only was one way to get blood in and blood out. But we didn't take it outside those that actually participated in it because
right.
they were fighting. I never seen Tookie with a gun until he caught that murder in '79. Other than that, I've never seen him with a gun other than after he got shot. And that weapon ended up being the one that they found. So I just want to put that out there
Right.
that what was going on then is not nowhere near the same thing that's going on now.
Right. So let's revisit when you first. How did this Crip thing even started out? I mean, because I'm from the South, and last time, well, the first time I was introduced to it, it was in the movie. That was like what Colors, I guess. And
Hmm.
we was like shocked. Coming from Atlanta, we looking at it like, man, what is this? I mean, we thought it was, some of us thought it was just different. Like,
Hmm.
what was up with these colors, and we just never understood it. And
Yeah,
then
that was.
now,
Mhm.
now
Go ahead.
today, it's all in the rap and everybody trying to be this tough guy image. And I think today with the youth there, this image is really killing them, really, because they trying to live. It's almost like they looking at the past, trying to go backwards instead of going forward. I don't understand.
Mhm. Where it don't got fashionable, profitable. It's a culture now where you can dress, have tattoos, look the part, and everybody thinks that makes you. Everybody want to be gangster. Everybody want to be gangster, but a lot of us are trying to get rid of that reputation that they're trying to get.
Right.
And as far as my knowledge, in '69, Raymond on the east side, Raymond Washington, my buddy, rest in peace, uh, he started a group over there.
Okay.
Uh, and then in '71, they were on the east side. He met Tookie. Tookie was coming home from Factor Brookings. He was doing time in a camp where they was coming on because Raymond had got into a fight at a record hop with the West Side. See, they didn't have gangs on the West Side. They had cliques. We didn't
Got,
have older guys on the West Side because we were integrating. So the
got you.
oldest guy we might see, especially running around in the streets over there, might be 18, 19, at the most 20. So in 1971, the Compton Crips, uh, the West Side Crips, and the East Side Crips form a conglomerate, and that's how the Crips started, to where they were a group, all united, East Side, West Side, and Compton. Then what put the Crips on the map, because they were dormant, where they wasn't really known till 1972. And you can Google anything I say. Robert Ballou got killed at the Palladium when Soul Train was coming out here. And during that time, it was Soul Train, gang banging, and pop locking. That's what was going on in the land.
Man,
So,
I was born in
mhm,
'73. Go ahead.
yeah. So,
Sorry. Go ahead.
in '72, before you was born, they had just started Robert Ballou, which was the equivalent of uh, 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 what's the boy name that used to defend O.J. Simpson? What's his name that died? That was the famous attorney. But this guy here,
Shapiro.
no, the black one,
Oh, Johnny
that
Cochran.
Johnny Cochran. Well, they used to be in a firm called Scarlett Robertson and Robertson used to be on Washington. But this youth that got killed over a leather coat was the son of a prominent attorney on the equivalent of Johnny Cochran. And
Mm,
when he got killed at the Palladium over the leather coat, that's when the Crips were introduced to the city of Los Angeles at that time. And then from that, the guys took it that that's how we, that's what we do. We fight, we do whatever. And that brought in the Crips and made them a name. And then it just went from there to what we have now, 50 years later.
So um, initially there weren't any Bloods. It was just like Crips, and so I guess Crips was just
No, they had no. They had Bloods, but they wasn't called Bloods. They
got
were individual. Pyru, Brims, 5'9" Brims, Van Ness boys, uh, 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 T. Rogers and them out the jungle, Blackstones. You had AC Deuces, you had Athens Park boys, you had Figueroa boys, you had Walnuts with John Seals, you had the Swamp. So you had Bloods, but they wasn't called Bloods. In fact, colors wasn't even out then. You had to walk up because Crips, we were wearing cross earrings with our brims down, overalls, Levi's, Pendletons. We could have on red, and there wasn't no colors. Like the brims wore one cuff up, one down. The AC Deuces put a like a card, an ace or a deuce in their hats with the nats. And then you have to ask them, where you from? So we was 14, 15. Very few people had cars back then. And back in Los Angeles during that time and era, you couldn't ditch school. So you had to be on campus and you might be at, say, Crenshaw High. They all Van Ness boys. You might be at Locke High. They all the equivalent of blood. So that's how that went. But at the beginning, there was no colors and there was no such thing as bloods. Mm-mm.
so is the Crips is the word Crip, are those acronyms for something like who came up with that name Crip?
Well, I know in the newspaper they were saying that, and I'm so sad that they got rid of the Sentinel newspaper, because that was the city black newspaper for so many years, and you could really see it. But I remember reading the article where they said it's a new group of gang of youths running around, and they carrying canes, wearing gloves, and they look like the crippling gang. But now in Tookie's book, which I never read, but somebody told me because they had asked me about the people in there, uh, I think he said Tookie and Raymond, and then when they had the meeting, they decided the name Crip. But I've also heard that they were called Cribs, Cribb, on the east side. And in fact, I got a guy that just died called Hawk that got into the fight with Raymond Washington and them at a party, which made them say, "Hey, who is these guys that could fight like that?" That is what I got from them. Actually, I got the video. So no, there wasn't no Bloods called Bloods, but they had opposition and foes. But you had the Chain Gang, which is now the Inglewood family and stuff like that. So you always had foes that were opposed to the Crips. And then later on, the colors came out as well as the term blood.
So how close were you to uh, Tookie Wilson and what's the other famous one? I think his name Monster, something like that.
Monster Cody,
Yeah, Cody.
he's younger.
Okay.
Well, yeah, Monster Cody is from A Trey Gangster, which is where I'm from, and quite a few infamous people. They from there, but I knew Raymond. I mean Tookie at. I met him in the 8th grade. When I first checked in from another junior high, I checked in the Horace Mann, and I always went to school on the first day of time to check in, and then after that, I never went back to class. So I didn't bring no books or nothing. So I checked into the class, and they told me, "You don't have no." I don't even know what the hell they call no pencil and a paper when you take it to school, but I didn't have it, and they had me sit by a girl, and the girl name was Bridget. And so she stayed up the street, and Bridget ended up being Tookie's sister. Bridget, Vicky, Wayne, and that's how I met Tookie. But I've had first met his sister, Bridget. Then when we went up the street, Tookie and them was in the yard. And I knew Tookie very, 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 very well, which a lot of us did. A lot of us go up there, but he, at that time, I would have been probably about 13 or 14, right up in there, 69, 70, right up in there, still coming out. And Tookie would have been, he born in 53, I'm born in 57. So I met Tookie at about 13 and he was about 17. He only lived to be about 24 or something. He died or got arrested in, well, he lost his freedom before he turned 24. And Raymond Washington got killed before he turned, both of them lost. One lost his freedom, one lost his life in 79.
Mm.
Then Tookie was eventually executed, I believe, in 2005, December 13th or December 28th, because one of them is his birthday and the other one is his release date where he got executed and went on to heaven.
Now, could you I also saw on one of your you was on one of those platforms where you talked about the three strike law. Um could you elaborate on that, because you were saying how they one of those platforms, you said they went back like retro and
Yeah, and yeah,
you, and they pinned it to you, and that's why you did a lot of your time or something like that, something like that.
well, in 1994, uh, Clinton endorsed a person in California that was his daughter, Kimberly Reynolds was her name, and her dad name was Mike Reynolds. So Kimberly Reynolds got killed by some whites robbing them, but she had a dubious past. Now, the three strikes law was implemented in 1994, March 7th. I was arrested like March 10th, 11th, 1994, but the law was retroactive to where no law in America adversely affect you to where it's implemented, then it go back in time to punish you for a lot of things where we plea bargain as juveniles or plea bargain as adults, to where at that time, if it was a nonviolent offense and you caught a nonviolent offense, you could get only 1 to 3 years. If it was a violent offense, each prior was 5 years. So they implemented a law that go to where every prior turned into a 25-year life sentence with no discretion, where the judge couldn't say, in the interest of justice, I don't think the punishment fits the crime. So it was mandatory. I got caught with $2 worth of drugs, and I got 25 years to life plus a 10-year consecutive sentence. And I was the first one to ever be released on a reversal, totally exonerated in the history of California. Then I went and wrote a book in 1998 called The New Slave Ship, Three Strikes You In, a ship that doesn't sail. But let me give you an example about what happens when a law go backwards, and it usually helps you as opposed to adversely affect you. That is the term. Charles Manson in the 70s was on death row.
Mm-hmm.
Then they abolished it in about 75 or whatever and found it unconstitutional, 73 or something. And they took him off death row because it helped him and it went backwards.
Right.
Now, they had to recharge and refire up the death penalty in 1977 because we know Tookie got executed. So that meant they started back up the death penalty. But they
Mm.
couldn't go back and put Charles Manson on death row, which was his original sentence, because they couldn't go back and punish him. And
Mm.
with this law, every state has had laws that are recitative for habitual criminals and stuff of this nature. So when you get so many crimes and conviction, they give you the habitual criminal. This law only helped perpetuate this new industry called prison and create a bigger net to lock us up. And listen, if you look at what Clinton said when he was apologizing, he said this law created too big of a net. And if you look in my book in 98, I said this law creates too big of a net. I still know guys that have, my son got 500 years as we speak. My
Whoa.
other partner's got 100 years for a domestic. See, now in California, behind O.J. Simpson and that murder, to where when a domestic violence case happened, when you white, you'll get a domestic violence case or a domestic dispute. When you're black, they give you a terrorist threat, which gets you the life sentence. So that's what's happening in California. And it's 32 other states that had it. but California has more in prison up under the three strikes law than all of them combined because we're the only one that's retroactive. And any case, nonviolent or violent, will get you a life sentence.
Wow, that's deep, man.
It
So,
is.
how many years did you do in prison?
Total, I did over 30 something years.
Okay,
Every
so it's
minute of.
not continuous. It's in intervals.
Yeah, I always was getting money. I've never been arrested for no gang activity, no shooting, no crime on no black. I've always been getting my money. I was robbing ice cream trucks or armored trucks at 14 or 15, so help me God. I've always went to jail. I got like 60 arrests, probably 40 of them robberies, and the rest of them probably gun cases, something like that. But I've never been arrested for assault on a black. I've never been arrested for attempted murder. I've never been arrested for nothing but basically trying to get money because I never worked in my life till maybe 2 years ago because my mother said, Melvin, I want to be able to tell my friends that my son went to work one morning. So I went and got a job and I had to straighten my life up.
Now, is your book on Amazon?
Yes, yes, I have it on Amazon or you can call 323-750-3592. That's Milligan Books, my publisher, and we can send it from there. Where we go, black, where you patronize black businesses, send the money to us, or you can call me and I sign it personally and I mail it myself. I do that too. $10. If you want it shipping and handling, send $12. I mail it to you, or you can go to Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. I'm all over that with that, and I very seldom promote it, but it's very relevant as today, as we still have this prison industry going on and the
Yeah,
privatization.
I wanted to make sure that you get that out there, so the people who are listening, they can get a book.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, let's see. My next question. So, did you know like any celebrities? You're from Compton, right?
I'm from LA.
L.A. Okay, so L.A. That would be. Did you you never you two?
Compton, LA, we all ran. They just is across the street. So,
Oh,
when you're talking about entertainers, what's the question?
no, I was gonna. You probably never met Nipsey or something like that, huh?
I've met Nipsey. I was there at the LA Gangs Unite. In fact, I seen Nipsey. I'll go further back than that. I've seen all of them from Tupac, Kid
Easy,
and Play. We
easy.
all in the. Yeah, because I had a guy that's the biggest guy on the West Coast, the last man standing. A lot of them heard of Michael Conception. He made We All in the Same Gang,
Yeah,
Grand Jury
I
Records.
remember that.
Well, I went to jail when I supposed to have been in the video and they were just starting out.
Gotcha.
So Mike, we got to when Mike Tyson was in his prime, New Edition, Bobby Brown, Young MC, Dr. Dre, uh, 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 These Are the Breaks, that boy Curtis Blow, EPMD, Nipsey Hussle. I met all of them coming up. Snoop Dogg, Battle Cat, Whack 100, Big U, Suge, Marvin Kinsey, Terry Carter that got killed. All of them. I met them all. You see them on the streets because at that time, Mike was parking lot pimping because he was in a wheelchair. We go to Dance Interior. Uh, 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 what was that other one that they had? It was up in Hollywood, and I'm forgetting it. Dance Interior was on Thursday. Then they had the Palace. We'll go up to the Palace, and you see them all there. So I got a long history of knowing what go on in hip hop because I've been around it. And Ice Cube come from over there. Silky Fine, Above the Law, come out of Pomona. In fact, we just did a Fathers in Hip Hop Award show where we passed out turkeys, diapers, food, riblets, care package. Then we had a concert where Spice won, Chili Chill, the Lynch Mob, uh, Hutch, Freeway Rick. All these guys attended, and if you look on my Facebook page, because I don't really do Instagram, you can see them all on there and the things that I do. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I checked it out. It was cool.
Hmm.
I saw the kids up there dancing. It was real cool.
Yes, sir.
So, you've been in and out of jail for almost half. Well, you could say half of your life, right?
Yes, sir.
Um, I mean, I gotta. I'm just looking at you, man, and I'm like, you're a sharp guy. You still got your memory and everything, still just clicking on all cylinders, which is a good thing. And you still seem like you're a healthy person. I mean, what
Yes,
what
sir.
kept your mind so sharp?
Well, back then, it wasn't punishment. We were going at the beginning where we could get arrested 30 times before we was 18 because they still believed in rehabilitation and
Okay.
they hadn't caught up. And a lot of times at that time at 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, it was like going to school in juvenile hall. You seeing everybody. In fact, I got friendships with guys over 40, 30, 50 years where I ain't never seen them on the street. But I know they mamas, they sisters and daddies, and we had programs. You could go to school, you could play basketball, which they had pro. You could get Social Security. You could get your parents, which they don't do now. They had a lot of things to do to keep you occupied, fire camp and things of this nature. So we were built to do time. It was actually, sorry to say, it was sometimes better than being home because a lot of my friends I'm seeing in hindsight, we all grew up to where the parents, the fathers and the fathers were kind of abusive to the mothers. I'm starting to see a pattern to where all these guys uh, where they come and their parents they come from the south. You know, them men drink back then,
Yeah,
and
they
it
drunk
was
a lot. They smoked those cigarettes too.
right. And so a lot of it I seen where these guys had stories of parental abuse where they witnessed it and they wasn't putting up it. And I think that has a impact on why these guys do not respect authority or the male figure because of the figure that they seen growing up. No more different than now. You'll grow up, you see your mother on drugs, your daddy pimping, your mama hoeing. That's not a good thing for a young man to see. And then you get caught up out in the streets to where you figure, hey, I'm getting more love from these guys and camaraderie than I am in my family. And then you get caught and you get turned out.
Yeah, I think it does correlates with that. But I think a lot of those dads back then, even though you're older than myself, but a lot of those dads back in your time as well as my time, I think they were going through a lot of pain as well. So I
Oh,
think,
they probably was. Where
yeah,
mhm. When you look at it like my daddy come damn near from slavery. I got pictures where they were burying him in cotton fields in a piece of wood where they
yeah,
dug him up
they were
and they
sharecroppers. A lot of them are sharecroppers.
yes, my name ain't Farmer from being Farmer Johns. That's probably my slave name. My family probably were good farmers. So the men, like you say, that's a good scenario to where they probably felt less of a man to where you could be walking with your life and a white man could spit in your face or tell you to hold your head down. So, and they come back and they work and they take it out on the mother because at 15, I heard my mama getting hit, heard a
Mm,
lot of slapping, and
mm,
I had a gun. And I caught my daddy in the hallway, and I put the gun up under his heart, and I told him if I ever hear my mother holler like that again, I'm gonna
mm,
have to use this. And he
mm.
never touched my mother again after that. I was about 15 when that happened.
Wow.
So then I had friends that at 15 killed. I know two or three of my friends at 15 that killed their daddy behind them touching their mother.
Right.
Hmm. Yes, sir.
So, yeah, that's very that's deep, man.
It
So,
is.
um, at what point throughout your life, okay, you've been in and out of prison, and like you say, you was about your money. That was your mission. But at what point you say, you know what, let me turn this thing around?
Well, I turned it around in 97 after I knew a man tried to take my life, and God gave me a new life by not closing that prison door when I had a life sentence. And I changed my life around. But a
Mm.
lot of people, when it come to getting jobs or nothing, I couldn't get no job, so I went back in. But I've been out 7 years now, 8 years. I went to prison in Georgia for 3 counts of attempted murder on the police in Georgia. I got an 83-year sentence. I got 20 years parole. I did 4 years in Georgia chain gang. And
So they transferred you from California to Georgia?
yeah, I'm on. No, I went to Georgia and caught a case, and now I'm in California. I'm on an interstate compact to
Okay.
where I'm the property of Georgia, but because I have family ties here, they just watch over me. But what happens if I get in any trouble? I go back to Georgia. I just got out after being out 7 years. They violated me uh, for missing reporting one time after 7 years, and they sent me back for 60, 90 days. And I just got out about April behind that. Other than that, when I got out from this sentence, my mother said, I'm getting old. Uh, I don't want you to be in jail if I die or you die in jail. I want to be able to tell my friends that you got a job. So I quit cold turkey.
Mm.
It's like being on drugs and then detoxing. I quit doing breaking the law. I went and got a job. I did everything, and what I do now, I'm doing everything to make my mother proud. Because at the end of the day, I look in my mother's eyes and I see the hurt. And we thinking we only hurting ourselves when we doing all this time, and it's a joke. But at the end of the day, it's not nice to see what you don't.
It's a
It's,
domino.
yeah, it's not nice to see what you did to your mother or father and to your sisters. Where hurt my sister's friends, and them would tell them, "I've been knowing you all my life, and I didn't even know you had a brother." That's
Mm.
not good. So I'm not proud of that, and we're not proud of it. When we guys my age, when we speak on our past, it's no more different than an athlete or entertainer that tell their life. But it seems like when we tell what we lived and went through, oh, these old guys, no. This is a game where when you live to get old, you'll be able to tell this shit. Because just like they 14, 13 now, a lot of them ain't going to be 64 to tell their story. Their ass is gonna be in the graveyard or a penitentiary yard. I
Yeah.
promise you.
And that's another thing. I think you're one of the fortunate ones to still be living to tell your story, to tell your testimony. And to me, that's why when I saw you on a couple of platforms, and I said, man, I would love to have him on the show because I was looking at how you turn your life around, not so much infatuated with the gang life because I'm not interested in that, but I just wanted you to tell your story, because I know that us having this show is gonna change somebody.
Yeah, it's gonna help somebody. And it's a healing for me. Like I say, they can get a lot of times you'll see guys telling these stories and I did this, I did that, but it's no purpose in what they're saying. And it helps fuel this problem. And that's a big problem because in LA, you cannot retire if you stand in that community. I get shot at,
Mm,
harassed. It still go on. There is no retirement. And then they wonder why we stay kind of hardcore because if we don't, they're going to try to test you.
right.
And the only way you're going to get a testimony is to be tested. But I learned testimonies don't count on the street because most of them don't believe in God.
No,
They
they can't.
don't.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So when you go to talk about how you changed your life and this and that, and they out here getting shot at trying to hustle in a tight community, they ain't trying to hear that. But
Right.
now if you into that, oh, I'm this, I did that, they can relate to it. But I've never opened a Bible. I've never read one page of a Bible. And I don't, if one thing you can get in prison is a Bible. I only use the Bible to make me rolling papers when I want to smoke some weed in prison or tobacco.
Mm,
So I've never read one passage. So I learned that to give a testimony, it's usually best where people have know what a testimony is to where they are respected, and then come a street way when it comes to spitting that knowledge to where you can go from the lips or the hips.
So, I know you mentioned your son. You say your son is incarcerated. How did that affect by you being in and out of prison? How did it affect your relationship with your kids? Is that the only child you have, or do you have any
No, I
kids
had
that?
I had three children, two boys and one girl. But most of our guys our age, our kids don't gang bang or nothing like that. My son ended up was a pro basketball player, was on his way and he broke his leg with Terry Prince, which is Tayshaun Prince, the
Mm,
Detroit Pistons brother, and it shattered his leg and ruined his career. And from being on the opiates and drugs and stuff as his healing was going on, he got hooked. He went from that to drug addiction on the streets, messing around with meth and other things like that. And it cost him his life because I had told him, son, your name Melvin Farmer Jr. Don't ever go to jail where they pull up my name and they got a chance to wipe you out. I say, I know what you're doing. And I promise you, you're going to wake up one morning and you ain't going to know. You're going to be done messed off your whole life and ain't going to even know what you did.
mm.
90 days later, that's exactly what happened to him. And he ended up getting 500 years with a life sentence. My other daughter, she's studying to deliver babies. She's at Winston-Salem, HBU, Historical Black College. My other son, he's pretty well to do. I got two granddaughters, one of them playing soccer at USC, Leah Farmer, on a scholarship where she's a top freshman and one of the top players in the nation and the country. I got two of them granddaughters, Aaliyah and Kanaya. Both of them are soccer proteges. So in my family, I'm the black sheep.
So
Everybody else.
you still kept that relationship. You still kept that relationship even though you was in and out of prison.
Oh yeah. hmm I always kept a relationship. If I was in and out of prison, if I was on the street, I've always kept a relationship to where I might have not been there when I was in jail, but no sooner than we got out, we would always try to do what we can to help my children. I took penitentiary chances
Mm,
for my children. I
mm.
never worked and I don't gave them a whole lot of stuff. And at the end of the day, I don't have nothing to show for it. Too old to work, too young for Social Security, but that's what happens with fast money. It go fast, so it is
That's
what
true.
it is.
Yeah, that's true. So, I know you got another interview. So
Uh, we we
what
good.
oh, another thing I want to ask you. I know you was in you say you have some programs. What are the programs as an activist that you're into in California?
Well, I'm a credible messenger where we do intervention and prevention. I help youths who've been incarcerated and I help them, the parents that doesn't know the telltale signs of a youth. I'm fit to be on this board. I just got the name of it, but I can't. But it's going to be a foster home where it's going to be ran by a church. It's going to be 10 kids as a pilot program. I'm on the board with Youth Mixed Martial Arts. That's Pantheon, to where that's grappling. They just come from Italy with Broken by Violence, uh, California Three Strikes Coalition, Time Done, a lot of organizations I deal with, but I'm usually a freelance because I'm more of an organizer and some things I don't agree with in what they're doing. So I kind of freelance and as an advisor. We held a summit, 2016 summit in Columbus, Ohio, the first of its kind, with King Tone of the Latin King, Sean Stevenson of the Black Philly Mob,
Hmm.
Fred Hampton Jr., Triple C's Chicago, Ayatollah Marvin, Compton Pyru, Antonio Testra, the Luciano Gambino crime family, New York City. All us were original members to where we do that. So I'm just a community activist and organizer, and I just freelance and bring awareness to other programs. I also had a program in 1978, NAPA, National Alliance for Positive Action.
Mhm.
I had a radio show in Washington, D.C., where we used to do it's a lot of things. I've been doing this since 1998, and I've always been grassroots and stayed with these. So I bring awareness, Save Our Sons, Justice for Murdered Children, all these organizations I've assisted or worked with.
Man, that's good, and that's what I wanted our audience to hear. How you did a 360, and it's a true redemption, true story of redemption. And I appreciate that.
I
So,
appreciate it.
in closing, what would you like to tell the youth? Because there we have some, a lot of single moms out here who kids they might find out their kids trying to join a gang or may be in a gang, and they may tell their child to listen to this. What is it that you would like to tell them uh, before we close the show?
Well, I'm going to tell you when I first went to prison, this about going to jail. What a BGF told me, a black guerrilla family, right after George Jackson and we in Soledad. I'm 19 or 20. And he said, Melvin, you got too much sense to be coming in here in jail. And he said, your ass will wear out before this fence will. And it's true. My ass don't wear out before this fence. But a lot of times I'm asked, what the number one thing which you say that you didn't do that caused you to get into this? And this is all I can tell you.
Mhm.
And it's in the Bible. Obey your parents.
Yeah.
They're not going to tell you wrong too much. I don't know about this era, but when I was growing up, my parents, they were two families. My daddy working, my mother working, and I didn't listen.
Mm.
If I'd have listened to my mother, because I'm going to tell you, when you go to jail and get behind there and you think you're going to holler out, it ain't going to be oh, homeboy. You ain't going to be hollering for your homeboy. You're going to be saying, oh God, just give me one more chance.
Mm.
One more chance. And I kept that faith. So I'm telling you, it's very few successful people that get off in this game. Now, if you acting, rapping, and all that, and you image and acting, that might can work. But if you're about this life, I'm telling you, if you live long enough, you're gonna be too old to work and too young for Social Security, and you're gonna be stuck. All I can tell you, young men, women, it's a better way than to just go the hard way and mess off your life. I regret it. You cannot get your time. Time does not stop. So make decisions and think about the choices that you make because they could cost you your life.
That's true. And I just want to say before we close it out that time is the most valuable thing that we have. Time is more, you can never get time back. You can lose money and gain money, but when it comes to time, you cannot go back and get that. You lose time, you can't gain it back.
Can't get it back. And I'm going to close this with a final word.
Yes,
And
sir.
it's what I say. The only thing stronger than a man's pride is a mother's love.
Mm.
Remember that.
All right. Thank you, Melvin Farmer. Brown Spade. We out.
Thank you, my man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Peace.